Hello, everyone. It's Kyle Henderson of BamaInsider.com. Thank you for joining me tonight. Tonight is Wednesday, September 2nd. I hope you had a fantastic day. Tons of coverage on BamaInsider.com. Nick Saban's press conference recently uploaded to the channel along with practice highlights. I love cutting those practice highlights, and I get it. Wednesday's a pretty busy day because I roll from the practice highlights to Nick Saban and then right into the show. And of course, if you follow our coverage on Tuesday night, we had our recruiting show with Andrew Bone. All super chats tonight go to the host, Kyle Henderson. So thank you so much for the super chats that you guys continue to distribute to us. I mean, sincerely helps the overall business operation. So thank you very much. And all super chats coming to the host tonight. Let me know where you're coming from inside the comment box. If you don't know what a super chat is, I'll show you real quick, and then away we'll go. And I'll take your calls tonight at 205-686-3604. Super chat is just that little $ just at the bottom of your screen. Let's kick it off with Nick Saban, some of his comments from tonight, and talking about this identity, because I felt that I started to see some identity with this team. Nick Saban isn't quite ready to really describe this team and where they're at going into practice number 11. So here's Nick Saban tonight, and this is fresh. He just talked about to the media after Wednesday's practice.
Well, I really can't say. There's so many variables, right now. Young players that need to mature into roles, new leaders, new people playing new positions. We just haven't had enough continuity in practice, I think, for that to develop yet. It is developing, and I'm not disappointed in the way it's developing. I just think it's, too early to call. And with the circumstances being as they are, and the unknowns, and doing things differently, like we've had to do things. It's different for players, it's different for coaches, it's different for everyone. We may not know until we play. So I don't know if I'll be able to answer that question until we play.
Let me ask you this, and if you're just joining us, thank you very much. My name is Kyle Henderson of BamaInsider.com. You can follow all our coverage, of course, back on BamaInsider.com. We got a ton of coverage, from Nick Saban's press conference, player highlights, in-depth articles, a ton of stuff right now that you can go through. Alabama plays Missouri on September 26th. What are your biggest questions going into this game? Because I think before we entered fall practice, I had a lot of questions on the defensive back situation and which particular players were going to step up for Alabama. And I think when you start to look at the Alabama secondary, you're starting to see a lot of guys rise up. I'm looking for some B-roll right now to kind of further elaborate on that. And I think some of these guys like Daniel Wright, I looked at him as a guy who could step up for this Alabama defensive unit. You look at a guy like Brian Branch, a guy who's certainly making waves. Jalen Armour Davis, another guy who, we need to see these younger guys get onto the field. And I think it's just a matter of time. Here's Marcus Banks till we see these guys in action. Because I think over the last couple of years, Alabama has had vets. Now this year, the veteran is Patrick Surtain. And a lot of people expect so much from Patrick Surtain. And I get it. I mean, he's the leader of this team, leader of the secondary. So overall, I think my questions have somewhat subsided when I look at the secondary, because I feel that Alabama is starting to find their guys. And it's just going to be about game situation. Now, Saban did mention that there's going to be no scrimmage this Saturday. It's just a practice. But he mentioned there's going to be a lot of game situations. And I'm curious to find out how these quarterbacks fare in game situations. As you know, Alabama is coming off their first scrimmage of fall training camp. And Mac Jones was 21 of 36 in that particular contest going against the second team defense. So everybody wants to know about Bryce Young and how Bryce Young is going to fare come game action, right? He missed the scrimmage on Saturday and he's back at practice, and we need to see him in game situations. I'm curious to see what is he going to bring to the table when an actual game gets going. Are we going to see that escapability? Are we going to be able to see what type of player he is from an instinctual standpoint? Because I certainly think he has it, obviously. We just need to see him in some sort of a game type atmosphere. So keep tabs on him. Another guy I continue to hear great things about is Paul Tyson. 6'5", 225 pounds, big arm, had a great scrimmage from what I'm told, and keep tabs on him. So the quarterback room looking great at Alabama, as you would expect. Good nugget of note, and if you watch our coverage, you certainly know this. Ali Cajo back at practice. He had a minor injury before fall training camp, but he's back with the team. And at that inside linebacker position where I want to see Ali Kahu get onto the field. He's such a great special teams weapon for Alabama, a guy who I think can really step up and make some noise. And I think the inside linebacker position needs guys to step up. So is Ali Kahu going to be one of those guys that really rises up for these inside linebackers? Of course, Dylan Moses on the far right here. The defense revolves around Dylan Moses. And if he's healthy, the defense is going to come back. Here's Shane Lee, number 35. Here he's been repping with the twos. And from what I gather, he's a guy who's really worked on his speed. And that's really not surprising to hear, considering Dr. Matt Ray has been working with all these guys on their speed. So, the inside linebackers, from what I gather right now, the number ones are going to be Dylan Moses and Christian Harris at that inside linebacker position. So, continue to keep track of that inside linebacker unit, who I think is going to fare fine. I mean, Christian Harris did a fantastic job for Alabama last season. So much ability in that young man. It's pretty amazing that when you're talking about a player like Christian Harris, that he didn't even play inside linebacker at the high school level, and then to step in for Alabama. It's really impressive as a freshman. Call line is open, 205-686-3604. Definitely take your calls. And, I'll, be happy to have some dialogue to talk Alabama tonight. Dorito Bag, just like he says, roll tide, everyone, like and subscribe. We certainly appreciate everyone giving a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel. Mark, what's up? I see you. Roll tide, back to you. And Jackie, of course, thank you for hanging with us tonight. D. Tider, I see you. Hello. Have a good night. Scott Williams is asking, my biggest question is our depth. I feel our starting. Let me get this real quick. Hey, you're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who I'm on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
What's going on, Kyle? This is Jeric from Buffalo, man. How are you doing?
Hey, what's up, Jeric? Good to hear from you again, man. Let me read out Scott's question, and then I'll get right with you, okay?
Oh, yep.
All right. Scott's asking, my biggest question is our depth. I feel our starting group is as good as anyone's on either side of the ball. But past that, and I think that's a valid question. As you look at everything right now, kind of from, a number two perspective, how good are these twos going to be? And I think we're going to find that out as we get closer to the middle of the month. I think the twos at Alabama, of course, going to be a lot better than the twos across the country, but that's a fair question. And I'm here with Jeric from Buffalo. What's up, Jeric? Thanks for joining us on the show today. How was your Wednesday?
Oh, pretty good Wednesday. Pretty good Wednesday so far, man. Just wanted to talk about some Alabama football with you real quick, man. But I wanted to talk about, want to give you guys at least one of your feedback on the entire, Jamie Newman situation, a lot of top stars situation. Like, what'd you think about that? About Jamie Newman opting out for Georgia?
I mean, is there anyone that didn't see that 5 million miles away? As soon as I saw that JT Daniels was transferring to Georgia, I knew that Newman wouldn't be the quarterback. And, I was, wasn't surprised to see him opt out. I think as soon as Georgia really found out, and they probably figured this out over the last couple of weeks, who the better quarterback is. So I'm not really surprised to see that, Jamie Newman is opting out. JT Daniels, we'll see what he can do at Georgia. But I still think when you talk about Georgia, I think they need to figure out their offensive continuity because they don't have a lot of starters coming back like Alabama. Now, on the defensive side, that's a whole different story. They probably have one of the best defenses in the country. But I'm not really too surprised to see Newman opting out.
Yeah, and I talked about this with you some months ago about the Todd Monken offense. And Todd Monken, for anyone who doesn't know who he is one of the best offensive minds in college football. But he runs one of the most complex offenses you will ever see. Mm-hmm. If you can run it successfully, especially if you look at Tampa Bay's film, they love to air it out, the air raid offense, a lot of streaks. It's a very complex offense. And when you have no spring football, when you have limited amount of practices that the Georgia Bulldogs have, with a new group of guys, especially on the offensive line and the entire receiving core except for George Pickens, that's going to cause some problems overall wise. So losing Jamie Newman, that's a big loss. Now, again, I don't know a thing about it. I don't know anything about that. I don't know, JT Daniels, he's not even physically cleared to play football, but Alabama. This is what I talked about with Def and the commitment that these players. I mean, these players are committed to play. And again, if any player for Alabama opts out, I have no grudge against it. I mean, like I said, you gotta worry about your own safety. Of course, that comes first. But the fact that Alabama has this much depth and the players are committed and they're motivated to try to get it right. All the coaching staff is back. Pete Golding, if you look at the offensive side of the ball with Steve Sarkisian, that's not an easy offense to understand too. And players are starting to adapt and learn the offense quicker than the players last year did. So that's why I think if you're an Alabama fan, you got to be even more excited about the opportunity for 2020.
Yeah, I think you hit on some good points. When you look at players that, I mean, as far as we know, no players have opted out for the 2020 season. In fact, Nick Saban talked about that tonight on his press conference. Now, that doesn't mean that players aren't going to opt out. I mean, there's still a long way before the season. I'm sure that's on the thoughts of players' mind, along with the parents of these players. You got to take care of yourself. You got to take care of your children. But I think it says a lot about how comfortable they are with Nick Saban, how comfortable they are at the facilities at Alabama. Think about it. Where would you feel more comfortable if you have children? Would you feel more comfortable with your student athlete at the University of Alabama, where they have access to all this training, all this medical facilities, or back in your hometown? I'm wagering it's probably Alabama. So I get it. Not all the facilities across the country have what Alabama has access to. But I think it also speaks about the continuity of this team and the goals that they have. They want to enter this season as a team. And, we'll see how they fare here in a couple weeks against Missouri. I still feel that they're going to come raging out of the gates. That Alabama starts very hot. They got Missouri in Missouri. And I think it's going to be a big shining moment for this Alabama Crimson Tide offense.
Yeah, and I can guarantee you this. I guarantee you a lot of those players, they're going to schedule the LSU game. And I know, LSU fans, they've been talking a lot. Trust me, I remember I called you about LSU last year when all those again, I live in Buffalo, New York, but the street that I live on is literally it's LSU Street. Literally nothing but people from Louisiana, from Baton Rouge, literally all over the place. And I had to go down the street. I had to talk to a couple of my neighbors. They're silent. They're pissed because of all the players that are gone. And I guarantee, and Bama fans and Bama players, they got that game scheduled because they want revenge. They don't want no excuses. They want that game. They want it in Baton Rouge, and they want to embarrass them. So, again, I love the commitment that our players are showing so far. I love the attention to detail, the focus, especially, just listen to the players talk. They seem so much more focused. So much that they just seem a lot more motivated, and they have a lot to prove, and they do have a lot to prove based on last year. And the entire country has an eye on Alabama this year. Again, you're right. It starts off with that game against Missouri.
Yeah, we're here talking with Jeric from Buffalo. Thank you so much for calling in, our first caller of the night. You can subscribe and hit the thumbs up button on our channel. We certainly appreciate everyone being here. There's so much talent on the offensive side of the ball. I opened up the show talking about the secondary, because I came into this season having some concerns about the secondary, just because there's talent there, but it's kind of unproven talent in my opinion. But I'm starting to see some guys really step up. From what I gathered from the scrimmage, Alabama secondary did fantastic, as I've talked about several times. Mac Jones at 21 of 36 against that secondary, that second team secondary. So, what does that say? Maybe that says that Mac Jones, needs a little bit more time, and maybe that spring season, it's going to affect all these guys in one way or another. However, they're getting so much time during fall training camp. What else is on your mind, Jeric, as we go forward?
Well, I want to respond to that real quick. I think one of the biggest reasons why that Mac Jones he's not doing bad, but of course he's not on that level that a lot of Alabama was expecting to. I think it's just because of spring ball. I think with no spring ball, with the limited time that you have, I think it's going to take Mac Jones a little bit to try to get acclimated back to the offense. Trying to get the repetition down, trying to figure out the defenses. I think it's just him trying to get back to that level where he left off against that Michigan game. As far as the defensive backfield, I'm glad you talked about the defensive backfield. One of the biggest things that I want to see from the defensive backfield is communication. Is that from the first team to the second team to a lot of the new guys that arrive, right? This is a very complex defense. Communication is key, and that's something that with an experienced secondary that we had last year, that is something that we struggle with, was communication. Now, part of that was because of the linebackers were new, they were true freshmen, and obviously Dylan Moses is going to make everyone's job a lot easier, him and Josh McMillan. But that secondary, even with a whole bunch of new guys, if they can get the communication down, then all you have to worry about is just individual. You have to worry about individual skill. And we love to play a lot of man-to-man coverage. We love to switch. We love to play a lot of man-to-man coverage. But communication was our biggest breakdown, especially in the passing game this year. And this year, we're going against a lot more offenses that are going to be start throwing the ball. They're going to start running a lot more complicated offensive schemes that will try to give our defensive backs trouble. So communication is something I want to see from our defensive backs this year.
Yeah, good stuff, Jeric. I sincerely agree. I think that overall this defense has to have a chip on their shoulder coming into the season, just because I think, as we've spoken about many times, that was kind of the chink in the armor over the last couple of years. You definitely need to see a pass rush. And I think LeBron Ray is certainly going to be that guy for Alabama's defensive line, along with Christian Barmore. I mean, these are two guys, who have good experience, can certainly get after the quarterback. You add DJ Dell, you add the outside linebackers. I like the defensive front. And of course, you have so much, a wealth of knowledge back there working with the defense. I mean, you have Freddie Roach, who's a new addition. You have Sal Sinceri back there, Charles Kelly. So much talent from a coaching standpoint, along with Pete Golding. So big year for Pete Golding. Anything else before we let you go, Jeric?
I wanted to ask about how the kicking position is. I know that's been the trouble of ours, our Achilles heel for like the past damn near of a decade. How is the kicking situation and the punting game too? I know we struggle with the punting game too. Is there any clear guys that are starting to show up, starting to take control of those two positions, the kicker and the punting position?
Yeah, I absolutely think so. I mean, here you're looking at footage of Joseph Bolovas, who returns, but the kicker for Alabama this season is going to be sophomore Will Reichert, who you're seeing right here, number 16, out last year with a hip flexor injury. And then your punter is actually going to be a walk-on punter by the name of Ty Piron, who was a walk-on last year and has looked to earn that punter spot. So big shoes to fulfill for Perrine, because I think when J.K. Scott left, I think the trajectory of the punter went completely south. And Alabama's kicker, as you know, Alabama's been looking for a kicker or been cursing that department, as a lot of people feel like, for several years. But I do trust in Will Reichert. I think he's going to be a guy that Alabama fans will learn to have faith in. Of course, faith is over a long period of time. But good news from the scrimmage is that he didn't miss and that he looked really good. So good sign early on for Will Reichert. But thank you so much for calling in, Jeric. We got to go, but sincerely appreciate all the support that you give us right here on BamaInsider.com.
Yeah, no problem at all, man. I'll be back whenever you open.
Thank you so much. All right, Jeric in Buffalo, always a great caller. So every time we get to rap with him, always brings such great stuff to the program. See a lot of questions in the comment box. Thank you so much. I saw one on some outside linebackers. And let me talk about the outside linebackers real quick, because I think when you look at the outside linebackers for Alabama, we've talked about the outside linebackers before. And you got Chris Allen, here's number 4. And you got Ben Davis. Those are the two veterans returning for Alabama. But there's some younger guys that are starting to do their thing as well. We've talked about the freshmen, but there's a couple other guys that I'm hearing are doing quite well as well. Let's not forget about those guys. Kevin Harris is certainly one of those guys. He's a sophomore this year, did a fantastic job from what I'm told during the scrimmage. And then you also got King Makuta. King Makuta, a very talented prospect, 6'5". I think he's going to get a lot of time. And Sal Sinceri runs a very complex defense. And these guys have to know from a terminology standpoint, what are their responsibilities? William Anderson is a guy who looks to get on the field absolutely this year. And so is Drew Sanders. I think those guys overall are going to add depth. And from what I hear, the younger sophomores and freshmen outside linebackers are going to bring back that speed that you're accustomed to in terms of tracking down the quarterback. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how Ben Davis and Chris Allen affect the quarterback, how they manage that outside linebacker position from a starting standpoint, and to see how these sophomores like Kevin Harris, King Makuta, and these freshmen get onto the field as we go forward. Call-in line is open, 205-686-3604. By the way, thank you so much for all the feedback on those practice highlights. I mean, I try to spin those out as fast as I can. So let me tell you real quick what happens. get an email from the practice footage. And before this, I was able to go to the University of Alabama, get my own footage, and then cut it up. Well, now I have to cut it up, chop it up, organize it the way I want it to, and then put some voice behind it. Then I had to cut Saban's video, had to upload Saban's video, have to do the practice highlights, and then get on here, to rap with my YouTube family. So thank you so much. And then I also got my real family too. So kind of, it's busy, but I appreciate the grind and I love the grind right now. A lot of comments in the comment box. Of course, the call line is open 205-686-3604. Let me go through the comment box and I'll answer a couple different questions. Alex is really excited to hear positive news coming out on Ben Davis. Me too. I think that would be quite a story if Ben Davis is able to have the season that we expect him to. What's up, Tristan? I see you. I want Bama to stay healthy, depth, and leadership. I think that, those three things, right? Those equate to a long, productive season as you move forward. Staying healthy, depth, leadership. And very important for all of that to come together along with that continuity that I think Alabama has. Heard some great things about Kevin Harris. Yes, we've talked about him before. What's up, Dorsey? I see you. Hey, Kyle, has Brian Robinson, how has he been this year? Needs to be a little bit more electric, and I think he'll be a stud with Najee. I've heard great things about Brian Robinson, to be honest. And he's another guy kind of similar to Ben Davis in the fact that we're waiting for these guys to really emerge as those players that we think they could be. Brian Robinson, 220 pounds. So him and Najee are a great tandem back, big physical back. I heard he's more shifty. I heard a couple years ago he was the fastest running back on the team, but he didn't play fast, right? If you watched Alabama's games, he didn't play fast in my opinion. But I heard he did fantastic on Saturday. I heard he can catch the football really well out of the backfield. And I think he'll have a big season. And I think Trey Sanders will be right there. And as I've talked about several times, it looks like Roydell Williams is that fourth best running back. Okay. Let's see. Scott saying I've grown to dislike Georgia more than Auburn and Tennessee. I think that's a valid point. I mean, maybe not Auburn, right? And I know Alabama fans have such a disdain for Tennessee, but any of those teams. All right, we got another call coming in. Hello, you're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who I'm on the line with and where are you calling in from?
Yo, what's going on, Kyle? This is Daryl Prince from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Hey, what's up, Daryl? How you doing, buddy? Good to have you on the show. Thank you for joining us. What's on your mind, buddy?
Yeah, I want to just talk about this defense that folks are kind of concerned about. We're rightfully so, but I want people to keep this in mind about Pete Golden. What made Jeremy Pruitt so good that he was already up under Nick Saban before. He knew what Nick Saban had wanted out of the defense, and I was supposed to just chill out on Pete. He gonna come around. It's a system everybody knew, and trust me, coaching continuity goes a long way. And no matter, I don't care what school it is in the country, no other school can stay at the level as same as Alabama if they had as many coaches that used Alabama to get a leg up and get a head coaching job somewhere else. No other school. I don't care what school it is. I don't care how good you say your school is. I know offense to Clemson, Ohio State, Texas. No other school can take that many losses year in and year out of stealing recruits. And then you got the coaches that take recruits with them. No other school can sustain like Alabama. So give Peter, just calm down and give Peter a little time. It's gonna come around. I mean, from what I gather, the boy's starting to get the swag back. They got a chip on his shoulder. They've been too relaxed all these years. So that's all I gotta say.
You're good, man. Stay on with me for a second, man. I appreciate you calling in. I know you're a first-time caller, so I just want to say that I sincerely appreciate you calling in and spending some time with me tonight. And I think you bring up some great points. I mean, if there's one person that's been in Pete Golding's corner, guess who it's been? Nick Saban. You don't think Nick Saban's afraid to make moves, right? Nick Saban's a defensive guy. And if he had to make moves, if he had to let go of Pete Golding, he would have done that already. I think last year, the biggest factor was the fact that you lost Dylan Moses and then you were starting two inside freshmen. I mean, that's going to be difficult no matter what team you are, especially for Alabama and the gauntlet of the schedule that they play. Now, of course, injuries and freshmen, I mean, those are two aspects that come into play every single year. But I'm kind of with you. Let's see what Pete can do this coming year. And I think there's enough talent, within the defensive line, of course, the linebacker position with Moses coming back, and the secondary with Patrick Surtain. So if Alabama can have a productive year, defensive wise, I think that overall, you're going to be pleasantly surprised with Pete Golding. Now, there's a lot of pressure on him, and rightfully so. It's Alabama's defense. People expect perfection from the defense because that's what they're accustomed to. Now, the world of college football has certainly changed because of the offensive attacks, but you got to adjust to that. And you got to get to the quarterback, and hopefully Christian Barmore and LeBrian Ray can be those two defensive ends that can get to the quarterback. I think it'll make all the difference in the world. What else is on your mind, man, before we let you go?
And speaking of defense, getting to the quarterback, you got to think of defense as the front line rotation. In years past, when especially the national championship years, we had a good rotation on defense. Recycling in defensive linemen, and that played a big part. You had in years past, you had a couple guys that were seniors that stuck around for their senior year, so they could per se, to teach younger folks, and plus just to stick around, and the last several years we haven't had that.
Well, thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate it. Please feel free to call in again. I sincerely appreciate you spending some time with us, and good call in tonight. So I thank you very much.
All right. You too. Have a good one, Kyle.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. Call-in line is open. 205-686-3604 is the call-in line. Be great to hear from you tonight to talk some Alabama Crimson Tide football. There's a lot to go over, and I'm starting to get excited. This is the first college football month, and it's really amazing because there was a couple weeks ago where I was less optimistic about the season just because I was reading into the headlines of everything that there might not be a season, and I'm just now I'm more optimistic than ever that we're going to get some college football. And, I'm extremely thrilled about that because it's been so long since we've had college football. Hello, you're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who I'm on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
Richmond, Virginia.
Okay, and what was your name, sir?
David.
Okay, all right. Thanks for calling in. Go ahead. You're on the line.
Yes, two-part question. One, if the ACC, SEC, and the Big 12 play, will the College Football Playoff Committee choose a top four from that? And secondly, do you think the champion of that, if played, will be considered a legitimate champion? That's a two-part question.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for the call tonight. It was David from Virginia. Was that correct? I want to make sure I get that first part.
That's correct.
All right. Yeah. I think when you look at the college football playoff, a lot of people feel that, maybe there shouldn't be a playoff if all of the Power 5 conferences aren't involved. I don't really agree with that. I think with the SEC, I think at the ACC, the Big 12, if these teams continue to march on forward, I absolutely think there should be a playoff because those are the teams that are still playing, and those are the teams that are inching forward. Hopefully things get going with the Big 10 and they can slide in and start an early season. I've been saying this for a long time, and I think a lot of people have as well. All the Big 10 had to do was really wait to make a decision, right? They made a decision way too early, and now it looks like they're trying to, backpedal and start some sort of a season. I want to see a college football playoff. I want all the best teams to be in there. I want to see Alabama and Ohio State go at it. I want to see Alabama and Clemson in the playoffs or wherever they play. But if those conferences are not playing, I think there should absolutely be a college football playoff. I don't think they should change it. I think they should be like, look, these are the teams that are in. These are the teams that we can choose from. And if it's two SEC teams, then so be it. It's not the first time that we've had two SEC teams in that college football playoffs. And more than likely, those are the four best teams anyways, or at least two out of the four. So you definitely got to get the best teams in, regardless of what conferences are playing. And you don't put an asterisk on it. These are the teams that played that year. That was the college football playoffs, and that was a champion.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
That was a very thorough answer.
All right. Appreciate it. Okay. All right. That was David VA. What do you think? I mean, I think there should absolutely be a college football playoff. I mean, regardless. I mean, these are the teams that are playing. We just can't say that, because, other teams are not playing or other conferences are not playing that we're not going to have a college football championship, right? I think we just look at the top 4 teams, add those teams to the list, and we go from there. I definitely like this edition right here. What's up, Chauncey? I see you. The addition of Charlie Strong will help. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. From a defensive schematic standpoint, absolutely. I mean, think about all the great minds in the defensive room, right? Nick Saban's a defensive guy, but Charlie Strong, I love that addition. Now, if you didn't know, he's a member of the defensive assistant support staff, so he's definitely on there. Let's see what else. The call line is open. 205-686-3604. Also look over in the comment box to see what else is going on. Be sure and hit the thumbs up button. We appreciate, you guys being here. I know you guys have a lot of options when it comes to Alabama Crimson Tide coverage, but you guys being here really means a lot to us. So thank you so much. And thank you, Bombs, for the super chat earlier. I saw that. So thank you so much. Kyle in the fresh suit. But why am I thinking about John Clayton ESPN commercial? Yeah, seriously, right? That is a funny commercial. And it is somewhat true. But I always try to dress up on Wednesday night because I think you guys need quality content. Plus, it's good to look good. I don't mind looking fresh. All right. Carl Tucker, grad transfer for Alabama. Nick Saban had some great things to say about him tonight. The tight end room looking good for Alabama. I don't think they have a dynamic tight end that's a veteran, but Jahlil Billingsley, I think, could be one of those guys that emerges into a deep threat tight end. Right now, you have Miller Forrestall, Major Tennyson, Carl Tucker. Those guys will be good in different situations. But in terms of somebody that can create some mismatches, maybe it'll be Billingsley. I sure hope it will be. Call line is open. 205-686-3604. Is the call in line. Dorsey, I'm kind of with you, and I've said this before. No offense, but I mean, the times that Oklahoma has been inside the playoffs, I mean, let's face it, it's kind of been a waste, right? I mean, they make it there, they have this great season, and then they get to the playoffs, and it's so lackluster. You're like, better team probably should have been in there. So I'm with you, Dorsey, on that. Let's see. Okay. What's up, Fredo? I see you. Bama, Clemson, Oklahoma, Florida is my final 4. I guess Oklahoma, it'll be interesting to see how good Spencer Rattler is. I'm sure he's going to be a baller. Clemson, they're going to be there. Bama, so much talent on the offensive side of the ball and a lot of emerging guys on defense. And then Florida. Wow, that's an interesting pick. I'm curious to see Florida, Georgia, see which team is the best from the East. I think you could go probably either way. I think we have to learn how good Georgia's offense is, and I think they'll get it going. And wouldn't it be awesome to see Alabama and Georgia play not only once, but twice during the season? All right. What do you think of Ronald Williams? Do you think he can earn a starting spot? What's up, Jacob? Thank you so much. I'll get right to you. Let me get this call real quick. Hello, you're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who I'm on the line with and where you calling in from?
Yeah, I'm calling from Huntsville, Alabama. My name is Aaron, too.
Hey, what's up, Aaron? Thank you very much for calling in. And did you say you're from Huntsville?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Aaron. Well, you're on the show. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, I was wondering, I've looked at a few reports and heard Coach Saban talking about our quarterback situation. Yes, from Huntsville.
Yeah, you're good. So you're talking about the quarterback situation?
Yeah, actually, I know we've got Jones, and also I've heard a lot of good about Bryce Young. What do you think the situation will be if Bryce really performs well? Do you think he could earn the starting spot during the season?
Can you turn down the volume in the background, please, Aaron? And I'll answer on the other on this side. I think when you look at the quarterbacks for Alabama, Alabama's going to go with their veterans and that's, what else would you expect? I mean, Mac Jones has a lot of experience coming back. He's played, I think, in 24 games. I think we still need to see how good Bryce Young is. From what we hear, he's made some plays at practice that have really turned heads, and that's not surprising. I mean, this is a guy who came in as a 5-star, very talented, very electric with the football. And I'm curious to see if he even gets playing time against Missouri. Is he going to be ready against Missouri? This is a complex playbook. I think he, could understand the playbook. But Mac Jones is your guy. And I think if Mac Jones comes out and has a successful first couple games, it's going to be hard to just automatically take him out. I mean, you're looking at a 10-game conference schedule against the SEC. Bryce Young didn't get a spring game, but he's getting all these reps in practice because of this extended fall training camp. I absolutely 100% believe that Bryce Young is going to play and play a lot. I asked my message board on BamaInsider.com, over under. Do you think Bryce Young plays in more than 8 games this season for Alabama if Mac Jones is healthy? I'm curious to get your take after I'm done kind of talking about the quarterback position. And another guy that I keep talking about, Paul Tyson. I mean, this guy, 6'5", 225 pounds. Heard he's been doing some great things at practice. Heard he could be starting at a lot of spots in across the country. Nobody really likes to talk about that third guy, but don't sleep on him. I mean, this quarterback room, very, very talented. And I like all those guys. But yeah, I think Bryce is definitely going to play. But going into the season, it's certainly Mac Jones' team. Do you think, let me ask you this, Aaron, do you think that Bryce Young will play in more than 8 games this season?
I wouldn't say more than 8. The thing is this, is that if he gets his reps, and if within those he shows value, if towards the end of the season in a crunch, if we had a situation like we did with Georgia, Saban might say, hey, you know what? It's just not jiving with Jones right now. So let's go ahead and throw Bryce in there, see what he can do and mix it up. It might not be something like early in the season, but I think he is going to get his reps, and I just have a good feeling about him. Not that Jones is bad. I just have a really good feeling about Bryce right this moment as far as what I've seen in all of the practice. It looks really good.
Yeah, I think you're right. And there's nothing wrong with being excited about these 5 stars coming in, and especially at the quarterback position. I mean, that's the most intriguing position, pretty much every year, especially when you're coming off a season when you had Tua Tagovailoa at the helm and just all the remarkable things during his career, because Tua was a guy that really came in and really set the standard for the expectations of what a quarterback, coming into Alabama. I mean, I've never seen a quarterback, especially his sophomore year, do what he did. I mean, it was just magical. So I think Alabama fans losing Tua look to this next 5-star and automatically feel that he's going to be that Tua. Well, he's a completely different player. And hopefully he can do great things at Alabama. But I think in terms of expectations, I think people just need to slow down, let him get acclimated to the college football level, get acclimated to be going against the ones from Alabama. But I think he's going to be just fine. I mean, I hear he's doing great things, and, really excited to see what he could do. What else is on your mind, Aaron, while I got you on the line?
I was also kind of curious. I've heard Saban talking a lot about our running back stable, just how much he liked the depth in that position. And I kind of had a question about who you thought would be his go-to running back this year, and where you think those reps are going to go as far as second and third, fourth, going on from there.
Well, I think
when you see as an up and comer,
when you look at the running back position, I mean, it starts with Najee Harris. I mean, he returns with so much talent. I mean, it's hard to believe that he's coming back. I mean, you're going to hear me say that a million times this year. 6'2", 235 pounds. And then you have Brian Robinson, who we talked about earlier, who's been looking great. I mean, I think he's worked on his explosion, that quick twitch. And I think when you look at up and comers, you have Trey Sanders, who's a redshirt freshman, dealt with the foot injury last year. And then the 4th best running back, from what I'm gathering, is Roydell Williams, who's a local product from the state of Alabama. So those will be your 4 running backs. And from what I gather, Trey Sanders and Roydell Williams are very similar. Those are all-purpose type backs. But I think in short, you got Najee Harris, who will be the bell cow. He's calling this season the campaign season. And I think if push comes to shove and Mac Jones isn't getting the ball to his receivers, which I find hard to believe that he's not going to be able to do, that Alabama can lean on their running game. And Alabama can be more run-oriented, which isn't a bad thing. And that's going to open up the passing game. I remember when Steve Sarkisian came in, the first thing he said that part of his offensive philosophy is the run will open up the passing game. And I think that's absolutely right. Yep. If people start worrying about Najee Harris and how they're going to stop him and stop Brian Robinson on third down, can you imagine those one-on-one mismatches with Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith and John Mechie? All you got to do if you're Mac Jones is get the football to these guys and let them do the rest. So It doesn't have to be, these deep passes that we've seen in the past from Tua Tagovailoa, because I don't think that Mac Jones or Bryce Young just yet are going to have that ability to really get the football to these guys 25, 30 yards downfield like we've seen in the past. That's not a knock on them. They're just different quarterbacks. I think you're going to see, receivers flying across the middle of the field, slants, short patterns to get these guys the football, especially Jalen Waddle.
Oh, no, I was about to say Waddle's my guy. You get the ball to him, really, that's all you have to do. He'll outrun everybody anyway. So, he's amazing to watch. So,
anything else? No,
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for taking my call. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Have a good evening. All right. Good stuff. Got a couple comments in the comment box. Scott, thank you so much for all you do. Kyle, absolutely. I mean, this is probably what this is obviously my full-time job, but this is what I would do if it wasn't my full-time job. I've been doing this for a long time. Been with Rivals for now 17 years. Cut my teeth out in New Mexico, believe it or not, covering high school football. Started up my own website. Used to work in Los Angeles covering the Elite 11 and the Nike openings. And, really have tried to work on my craft to deliver a great product. And then when I had the opportunity to move to Tuscaloosa, came out here and, fell in love with a little college town. And, we've been happily ever after since. So take some more calls, 205-686-3604. Definitely hit the thumbs up button on this video. That helps the algorithm get out to other Alabama Crimson Tide football fans. So I know that, the super chats are always nice, but the thumbs up is great. And I sincerely appreciate it. And we're always grateful for you guys watching our program. We know you have options out there when it comes to Alabama Crimson Tide coverage, but you guys being with us tonight sincerely means a lot. I'll continue to go through the comment box, post some of your guys' comments. Let's see. Najee's campaign. All right. Who wins the Heisman this year, in your opinion, Kyle? Also, I got Dylan Moses winning the butt kiss. Yeah, you know what? I mean, if you're a betting person out there, there was a couple weeks ago, Jalen Waddle's odds to win the Heisman Trophy, 100-1. So I don't know. You might want to refresh those odds and, put something down on Jalen Waddle, because I think if Steve Sarkisian's creative enough to get him the football as many times as possible, Jalen Waddle is going to be the first Heisman wide receiver since Desmond Howard. Does anybody know the last time a wide receiver won the Heisman? There's a trophy. There's a trivia for tonight. And then Dylan Moses winning the butt kiss. That would be wonderful. It'd be great. A great story coming off of ACL. If he can stay healthy, he's absolutely going to lead Alabama in tackles. If Alabama has a 13-game season, I could certainly see that. And just wait till you see Dylan Moses speak. Such a high intellectual, great IQ, really just a defensive leader on the field. I really hope he has a big season. Just a great person overall. Got another call coming in. Hello, you're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who I'm on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
Hey, Kyle, this is Todd. I'm calling from up in Boaz.
Okay, all right. Did you say it was Todd?
Yeah.
All right, Todd. How you doing tonight? Thank you very much for calling in.
Well, I called you last year before the season started, and we both seem to be pretty much on the same page with Sarkisian being more run-oriented than he was passing the football. Mm-hmm. Are you still feeling the same way this year?
I think at first, maybe, because you have Najee Harris coming back. And just as I was talking with Aaron from Huntsville, I think, the offense is going to be predicated around Najee Harris, in my opinion, to start the season. And why wouldn't it be? The way that he performed during the scrimmage, I heard there was like everybody, and then there was Najee Harris. I hear it's that way at the weight room. I hear this guy is just on a completely other level in terms of overall talent. That guy's working for something special. So I think that if you start to see Alabama go a little bit more ground heavy than you're used to, that's not a bad thing. And that's not a bad knock on Mac Jones or that he can't do the job. I think it's just part of the offensive schematics to get these wide receivers in one-on-one situations, because who's going to cover Devontae Smith? Who wants to cover Jalen Waddle?
Really?
John Mechie's having a fantastic year. And just as Saban said tonight, and as we've been saying all fall training camp, Javon Baker, my goodness, right? So if you start to run the football and you start to pound the rock, defense gets tired, you're worrying about Najee, you're worrying about Brian Robinson on third down, Steve Sarkisian is going to have a field day. And I think one of the things that Sarkisian is going to do is, remember a couple years ago when Loxley was the offensive coordinator, how quick Alabama scored? that almost came
Yep.
to hurt them because it put the defense out on the field so much. So I think if the defense is rested and Alabama can methodically move the football, still be effective, I think the defense is going to be better for that this season as well.
I'm really excited about from the defensive side of the ball with Ben Davis. I'm hoping for him to have a great season. You know, but with Sarkisian, you noticed how the tempo changed once Tua got hurt, and they seemed to be more effective on as far as the whole unit offensively when they were committed to running the football instead of doing the RPOs. And I'm hoping that they give him the opportunity, you know, quarterback Jones to be a quarterback and not try to run those RPOs plays.
What's your confidence level in Mac Jones, Todd?
100% confidence wise. If that's what they do, like they did the last 2 games of the season, you know, and against Michigan.
I think
they.
Go ahead, Todd.
Go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say is I think that, you know, when you look at, you brought up a great point, because I think what Mac Jones did, it was a taste of what he could do in 2020 against Michigan. I mean, those passes, I mean, and granted, they're to Jerry Jeudy, they're to Henry Ruggs, but man, those wide receivers didn't have to stop. Now, I think when you look at, you know, the 21 for 36 during this first scrimmage, I mean, hey, this dude, that's called rust. Right. I mean, let this guy get, you know, acclimated back to a game situation, the pace of play, as Saban said.
I know Alabama's offense. I know any offense is more effective when you have a 15 to 1,600 yard ground game in one position from one player. You're getting, you know, from the running back position, and it takes pressure off everybody across the offensive line. As far as distributing the football, because you know where you're going with the football.
Mm-hmm.
And that last year with Tua, I believe everybody was in love with Tua's arm more than was keeping it an attacking ground game.
Yeah,
and that put him in a position to get hurt too many times since he was at Alabama.
Probably so. I mean, I just, you know, you can't have injuries. You saw how that affected the team last year.
No.
I mean, there's no way that you can, you know, have injuries to Dylan Moses and Tua Tagovailoa and expect to win a national championship. It's not going to happen.
Nope. And constantly they had them out on the field so much defensively last year that, you know, after the 5th, 6th game, it was just a track meet between 2 offenses. Defense wasn't able to put pressure on the quarterback. Defensive line couldn't get in the backfield. They couldn't blitz. I mean, they were just stuck just playing a base defense with freshmen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like I said, this year I'm really excited.
And that's why Pete Golding, I mean, got so much flack, and I get it. I mean, people want a great Alabama defense, but you can't have a great Alabama defense with 2 freshmen. And people forget that Christian Harris didn't even play linebacker in high school. Imagine Christian Harris. You go to Alabama, hey, son, you're going to get a chance to play as a freshman. All right, great, coach. Wherever you need me. All right, you're going to play inside linebacker. Okay, I'll spot play, right? Hey, Christian Harris, you're starting inside linebacker. Okay, who are you starting next to? Shane Lee, another inside linebacker. Can you imagine those guys making checks out during a game situation? And Shane Lee's like, what do you think, Christian Harris? Does this look good? And Christian Harris is like, yeah, I guess so, man. Let's go. I mean,
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I watched it all. I watched it all season long, but I mean, I felt for them too. But they did great for the circumstances. I mean, they couldn't have done much better. But you know, now they got their feet wet. I think the depth will be there, and then they'll really be able to show what they can do.
Anything else, Todd? While I got you on the line.
Oh man, I've got to get back to work. I just broke away for a minute from my computer.
All right.
I got to get back in my office.
All right. Well, good stuff, Todd. Please call again, buddy. We'll talk soon.
Roger that. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide to you, buddy. All right. Todd from Alabama. I appreciate it. Thanks for calling in. No, from what I hear on Shane Lee, here's a nugget. He's a lot faster this year. He's working with the 2s. So you're starting inside linebackers, Christian Harris, and Dylan Moses, and then Shane Lee working with the twos. I want to see Ali Cajo. I know there's a big following for Ali Cajo, and rightfully so. I mean, a special teams nightmare, right? Last year, somebody asked, how many punts is he going to block? Hopefully as many as possible. You just, every time he gets on the field, I think something good happens. You talk about opportunistic players. Ali Cajo falls into that category. Wouldn't you agree? Thumbs up for the show. We appreciate you guys watching tonight, wherever you're coming from. I know we got a large fan base from, across the globe. We have some viewers in New Zealand. We got some people in Hawaii. We got some people, obviously, across the country, and of course in the great state of Alabama. So thank you very much for joining us tonight. I'll scroll through some of the comments while we wait for our next call. 205-686-3604 is the call-in line. Thanks for the super chat earlier, Lamar. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Try to be the best in my craft and try to provide good content. So thank you so much for the super chat. Sincerely appreciate it. Let's see what else. Kind of going through here. I don't know. I'd rather just talk straight from the heart about Bama football rather than go to the comment box. I mean, I appreciate the comments, obviously, but the calls are great because I'm able to, just verbalize back and forth. I think when you look at Alabama, and you look at their offensive line, I think that's going to be a key to success this year. And how could it not? So much about the offensive line. We don't even have to say much about the offensive line, but just because who the offensive line is going to be. Now, I guess my question when I do look at Alabama's offensive line is, how good is Evan Neal going to be as a tackle, right? I think that's one question that I have going into the season. Hello, you're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who I'm on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
I'm Philip, and I'm from Tuscaloosa.
Hey, what's up, Philip? I appreciate you calling in. Thank you so much. What's on your mind, buddy?
I appreciate you. No, I want to piggyback off what Todd was just saying about how we play base defense pretty much all year. What I think will be the difference this year is that if we can get I know when we had Jeremy Pruitt, we used to have different kind of blitz packages as far as strong safeties coming off the edge, like when Minka Fitzpatrick would just come through flying, or Anthony Avery would just come off the edge. We would have different kind of things that we can do. And I think this year, this has probably been, and I know I might get a lot of flack for this, but I think this has been the most loaded as far as top to bottom as we've been in the last probably 4 or 5 years, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I think when you look at the defense, and just as I said earlier, I mean, this defense, they have to have a chip on their shoulder. I think all eyes are on the defense because, look, the offensive group is completely loaded. We could talk about the offense. It's too easy to talk about the offense, right? But when you look at the team from kind of a defensive standpoint, that's where all my question marks are. That's where everybody's question marks are because a lot of these guys are unproven and a lot of the defense has to improve. If Alabama wants to win another championship, the defense has to be the best it can be. It has to be the best version of itself. And I think you're right. You have to have some of these players in the secondary come off the edge, get to the quarterback. How is Patrick Surtain going to be used overall? Because I think he's not only one of the best cover corners that's returning, but I love him at that star position. And if Alabama can't find someone for that star position, they're going to be in trouble once again. Is it going to be Ronald Williams? Is it going to be Branch, who's a freshman? Somebody needs to step up on that secondary at the star position because it's a very important position overall. But I think, just in short, the defense needs to improve.
Absolutely. But you know what I think is really missing out of the defense is a playmaker in the secondary. When it's time for a turnover or it's time for a big play in the back end of the defense, we just haven't had that in the past 2 or 3 years. And really, to me, we really haven't had a dynamic player like that since Eddie Jackson and Minka Fitzpatrick. As far as being dominant in the back end, where you okay, well, we need a turnover. Who can we look at to pick the ball off or have a pass breakup or get us off the field on third down? We just did not have that last season.
I think that's a fantastic point. I mean, who is going to be that alpha in the secondary? And as we talked about, it looks to be Patrick Surtain, but does he have that game breaker ability, right? That guy that can really pull down that pick. You know what? Who it might be? How about Jordan Battle? Right? I mean, he played a lot as a freshman. He's coming back. I like him. What about Daniel Wright? Right? Yeah. I mean, Daniel Wright, believe this, he's played in 24 games at Alabama. He hasn't started a lot of games, but he sure moves well. Yeah. And maybe Jordan Battle, Daniel Wright, maybe those guys. But I'm with you. Like when Minka was back there, you felt safe, right? If you were an Alabama fan, you're like, Minka's out there, we're good. Right now, you're like, okay, are we safe right now? I think against Missouri, you're going to be safe. But as you continue to go against a Lane Kiffin early in the season, against a Kellen Mond, who's been very productive against Alabama in that front end of the schedule, Georgia in the front end of the schedule, the secondary needs to find some identity.
Now, I'm going to ask you this. Do you think that Coach Ballou and David Ray could change the way our players play on defense to kind of bring back that intensity, so to speak?
I don't know. That's a good question. Like, who does that come from? I would believe that probably comes from Carl Scott and Charles Kelly and Nick Saban himself. I mean, Nick Saban works with the corners at practice. He works with the secondary. I think when we all point to Pete Golding, it's Nick Saban's defense. He's a defensive-minded coach. I think what David Ballou and Matt Ray are going to bring to this team is a speed factor. So when you look to guys who might not have that speed that they need, they're going to have, that speed factor for those guys. One player that I think really has an opportunity to shine this year is Josh Jobe, right? He started at the beginning of the season against Duke and then kind of took a step back. But I think the secondary needs big things from Josh Jobe because that corner position, it's an important position. So is the other one. So you got Patrick Surtain, Josh Jobe, and kind of some question marks at that star position. But maybe it's going to be Branch as a true freshman. And that would be very surprising to see a true freshman come in. And I think that would say a lot about Branch if he does come in and start at that star position.
I totally agree. But the bright spot about the defense that we do have is that we are loaded at outside linebacker, and we are loaded for years to come. Like to me, that's something I want to hitch my wagon to as far as I know that we can be able to create pass rush because in 2015, 2016, when we would just bring Tim Williams off the edge, that would be a scary package. You see what I'm saying? Like, he was dominant in his own right. Now he only played on third down, and it's like, can we create that again with Drew Sanders and Will Anderson? Maybe not. But I like the fact that Ben Davis and Chris Allen are given the chance to prove themselves. But I really, really, really like the young guys coming in, just go get the ball, go hit the quarterback. And if we can have them play a major role this season, I feel like our secondary won't have to be as dynamic, but it'd be best if they work.
So let's talk about the outside linebackers because I opened up the show talking about the outside linebackers, and I'm on team Ben Davis. I want to see this young man go out in his senior year and be productive. And regarding Chris Allen, I want to see that young man come off an injury and have the season that we all hope he could have. Now, when you look to these younger guys, we can't forget about Kevin Harris. Heard he had a great scrimmage. He's a sophomore. You got King Makuta, who I think could be another guy to get after the quarterback. And I think what you're going to start to see in the sophomore and this freshman group are these athletic linebackers, outside linebackers that you're accustomed to if you're an Alabama fan. Obviously, we're hearing great things about Will Anderson, and I hear that Drew Sanders is an absolute freak of an athlete. So I think long term, like yours just saying, if you want to hitch your wagon to a position for the future, look to that outside linebacker position. And I'll tell you what, one of the key attributes that Alabama has at the outside linebacker position is Sal Sinceri. you're at a South Sincerity practice with the outside linebackers, you better make sure that you're accustomed to hearing some F-bombs because he is going after you. He's got that old school mentality, and the players vibe off that. And South Sincerity, he wants the alpha males getting after the quarterback the way it should be.
Yes, sir. Now, just a few things before I leave. I want your. I know you love Waddle, but I want your over or under on the touchdowns that he's gonna score this season.
All right, so Waddle. I think with Waddle, in terms of touchdowns, let me put it this way: the year that Desmond Howard won the Heisman Trophy, I think he scored 22 or 24 touchdowns, somewhere around there. Jalen Waddle, I could see him scoring, 15 to 17 touchdowns. I could see like 2 special teams touchdowns. The problem is nobody's going to kick to him if he's the punt returner, which works out well for the defense. And I think, a couple jet sweeps, let's say he, scores 2 and then he catches another 13 touchdowns. So I'm looking at 15 touchdowns, which would be a lot for Jalen Waddle. I just think that he has it. And I think he needs a football, more times than not. I hope that we see tons of Jalen Waddle because the highlights that this young man could provide could be spectacular. Now, get this. Guess how many times he got the football against Michigan? And I know you got Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs. He got the football twice against Michigan. And if we rewind to that Auburn game, I get it. Nobody wants to go open that wound again. But what he did in that game was pure magic. That was beast mode.
Absolutely. I love Waddle. I love his game, but to me, man, I think he's gonna see a lot of brackets in this year, though. I really do. I think people are gonna try to see if Devontae Smith is really a number 1 receiver. That's why I think that teams are gonna try to make us prove on offense. But I think Smitty's solid.
remember that, Phil. Remember that game against Ole Miss last year when Devontae Smith caught 5 touchdowns?
Absolutely,
that was crazy. I never seen anything like that, and I'm hearing great things about John Mechie as well. Okay,
and man, like you said, I'm a new subscriber on Bama Insider, so I've been picking up the nuggets, man. I've been a Bama fan since about 2003. I'm 25. So I've been a Bama fan for a long time, and I've never ever had this much information at my fingertips about it.
Phil, tell everybody, since you're a subscriber of BAMA Insider. So if you're new to the website, I come on here every Wednesday and I talk shop with you guys, but I also provide premium nuggets that you can't get anywhere else. Phil, tell them about the nuggets that I drop on BAMA Insider.
They are very, very, very extensive. A lot more than you think. Like you hear him say, "I got a nugget," but it's like, it's not really a nugget. It's more like a gold bar because it's really a lot of information.
Yeah, well, I encourage you, if you're out there and you're it's in depth and I go in detail, and this is stuff you can't get anywhere else. So if you're curious about BamaInsider.com, go over the free 30-day promo. Simply Roll Tide. Phil, promise me something, buddy.
Yes.
You're going to call again because I thoroughly enjoyed the dialogue with you. Thank you for being a subscriber, but thank you so much for spending some time with me tonight. I know we all got families, we all got bills to pay, but carving out a few minutes to talk Alabama football and kind of get away from everything that's been going on this crazy 2020. It just feels good to be talking some college football.
I'm so excited for football season.
No doubt. Well, thank you so much, Phil. Have a blessed rest of your week. We'll catch you back at Bama Insider.
You too, man. Roll Tide.
All right, Roll Tide to you, buddy. All right, that's Phil, and I think that's a good stopping point. I've been slammed this afternoon. You got the Nick Saban press conference. You got practice highlights. Got the call-in show. So what a day it's been. Always a blessing to be here with you guys talking Alabama Crimson Tide football. Sometimes I can't even believe that I live in Tuscaloosa. And that I'm able to cover the Alabama Crimson Tide. I never get tired of living here. I never get tired of, doing my job. I appreciate the grind. I always look back at what, the late Kobe Bryant said, and it affected so many people when he passed away. But I respect the grind, right? I love to work. I love to be the best, to strive to be the best. And that's why I wanted to come to Tuscaloosa, because I knew that it would up my craft. And I think a lot of the competition out there has certainly made me better at my own job, made me more creative, got me to wake up earlier in the mornings, trying to soar with those Eagles, because I know you have options. So spending time with me tonight means a lot. Thank you very much. I know we got great coverage. Definitely check out our recruiting show with Andrew Bone, who definitely kills it. We appreciate everything that you guys do. And for being here on BamaInsider.com, please hit the thumbs up button. It means a lot and helps our channel get out to other people that follow the Alabama Crimson Tide. From beautiful Tuscaloosa, Alabama, my name is Kyle Henderson. Thank you so much. And you're right, Aaron, the road to 50K subscribers is ongoing right now. So have a great night, everyone. Be blessed. And as I always say, be good people out there. Until next time, my friends, talk soon.